Hey, it's Whitney from EcoVeganGal.com, and welcome back to the weekly Q&A, which happen every Saturday here on the EcoVeganGal YouTube channel. Today, I have an amazing guest, the teen vegan Haile Thomas. We're going to talk about what it's like to grow up as a vegan, to raise vegan children, all sorts of advice for you there on just thriving as a teenager, which I'm so thrilled about. But before we begin with Haile and all the questions we have today, I want to welcome anybody who's brand new and explain how these Q&As work. So first of all, for those of you watching the recording, the most important thing for you to know is that down below the video in the YouTube description field, you can actually skip forward to any part of this video. Within 48 hours, usually on Monday evenings, I'll upload the time codes and also links to whatever we talk about. So you can skip around the video, you can go directly to more information, so you don't have to watch the whole thing, although, of course, I encourage you to. A lot of people love to just listen to these. You don't have to watch. And you can also submit questions for future Q&As. There's a link down below as well. Every week I answer about 4 to 5 questions, usually with the help of a guest, such as Haile today. So if you send your question in, I'll do my best to answer it as soon as possible. For those of you watching live, it's really neat because you get to interact with us. You get to ask your questions live. You get to comment on things, just be part of the conversation. And I wanted to give you a quick little tour of how that works. So let me take you over to my screen right here. You're going to do this through Google+, and when you come to the EcoVeganGal Google+ page, or directly to this event page, which you can find on the EcoVeganGal Facebook page and Twitter, all you do is press the, I think I'm logged into my account. Let me log out so this makes more sense for you. I'll go back around here. Here we go. So when you're here, you just press this. Did I actually boot myself out entirely when I did that?
So
Did I?
all of a
Was it
sudden
on this whole time?
frozen.
Oh no, I wonder if we should just start over again then.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I can't. Okay, I didn't realize that it would do that. Okay, well, let's just keep going. I'm so sorry, Haile, to do that, but we'll just keep moving forward with that.
Sorry.
So I was trying to show them how to do this, and I realized that when I clicked the sign out button, that it signed me out of the the broadcast as well. Oh, it's always a fun adventure doing these Q&As. Well, that is the quick. Did people at least, were they able to see the screen share of how it works? I love being able to demonstrate it because a lot of people get confused, but because of that technical glitch, we'll just keep moving forward. And basically, what I was showing you there was that you can go directly to Google+, and once you start watching the video, there are these little squares up at the top right corner, and you can click on those, and that allows you to ask questions through the Q&A app. So sorry for that little glitch today. Google Plus is still a little complicated even for me, and I use it every single week. So if anybody's having any trouble, just take your time, click around, and you'll eventually find how it all works. And the great thing is it's connected to your Gmail account, it's connected to your YouTube account if you use YouTube, and it's completely free to ask questions and to sign up for it. All right, so with no further ado, let me introduce Haile. Haile, I met through YouTube. She's another vegan YouTuber. And tell us more about yourself, Haile, and what you do.
Well, I'm Haley and I'm 14 years old. Um, I actually became really passionate about food and healthy eating and cooking when I was about 10 years old. And in 2008, my dad was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So it was this huge shock to our whole family finding out that he had this disease, and we wanted to make sure that we did everything we could to make him feel better. And so, as a family, me and my mom and my sister, we just all got into the kitchen and started really experimenting with different ingredients, and um, it was very successful, and even at that time, we weren't vegan, but we were just educating ourselves more and more about food in general. And over time, it really grew into something that I love to do, and I wanted to share the message of good health with more kids my age, and so they could really discover that they can be great chefs in the kitchen, but also cook healthful meals, and how important that is to, well, build a healthy lifestyle. And so fast forward like a bunch of years, and I really just started to kind of spread the message on a national level by giving speeches at different health conferences, and all of that has been so much fun, and it really is amazing to share the message across the nation. And just about 7 months ago, I decided to go vegan, which was a decision out of me wanting to improve my health even more. And I'm really adventurous. I always want to try different foods and different ways to kind of mix things up. So I really was looking for a way to kind of expand my knowledge of like how to make different fruits and vegetables. And I really was informed like what happens when you eat meats and dairy. And when I found that out, I was like, whoa, I gotta change. So I kind of dragged my family into it, and we stuck with it because everybody was just really excited, and everything tasted great. So we were feeling better than ever, and that's kind of me.
That's so cool. And was your dad able to recover from the type 2 diabetes? Does he still have that, or did food heal him?
Food did heal him. His diabetes has been gone for almost 4 years now. So
Wow. That is did that go before he went to the plant-based diet, or was that through the plant-based diet?
it was before the plant-based diet, but you know, we transitioned so much. Like even at when we did eat meat, we knew about these options, but I guess as a family, we weren't just completely ready to do it. And I think that's a great thing about being informed is this time really helps you out, and you can eventually grow into what's best for you. And that's what happened to us.
That's so cool. Well, thank you for sharing that story. It's so inspiring. I mean,
Of course.
I've known a little bit about you and your work, but wow, like you're so well spoken for your age, and it's just so cool what you're doing. And you've actually did something with the First Lady. Do you want to tell us more about that as well?
Yeah, so I, in 2012, I believe, I was selected for the state of Arizona to um, be a part of the first ever Kid State dinner at the White House, and my recipe got chosen to represent the state of Arizona at this huge dinner at the White House. And so I got the opportunity to have my dish prepared in the White House and then served to the First Lady and the President. So that was an amazing, amazing experience. I also got to introduce her at the following event the next year, and that was really, really crazy too, and an honor for me. And then I got to sit in the First Lady's box at the State of the Union 2 years ago.
Wow, that is so cool. That is just amazing. And you've been featured in Oprah's magazine. It's just incredible what you've done at such a young age. And I can't imagine where this is going to take you in life. I mean, you're kind of starting a career so young and you're influencing so many people, and it's just really, really spectacular. It's an honor to have you on here today,
Thank you.
and
It's
I'm sure other
awesome.
people are just going to be so inspired by you. So this is really exciting. Thank you for all that you do.
Of
So
course.
let's jump right into some of the questions today. We have 5 that I've had from the kind of question archive, all from teenagers, and then we're going to open it up to the live questions. So anybody watching live can ask a question. You can be a parent, you could be a teenager, you could be just curious about anything, as you'll get to know Haile through the conversation and what she's most knowledgeable about. But really, we want to just open it up to any health-related questions, any vegan-related questions. There's just so much to explore here, so we can't wait to hear what you have to ask. So the first question comes from Elisa, and Elisa wants to know what teenage vegans can buy or bring to school for lunch, and what to have for breakfast and snacks on the go. I think when she asked about buying food, she meant like, is there food at school that you could buy? And of course, this is going to depend from school to school. But Haile, I'd love to hear, what do you eat at school? What do you bring to school? And what do you eat when you're on the go?
Well, for me, I actually don't eat my school lunches. A majority of them aren't really vegan friendly. And I've noticed that bringing my own lunch to school is a way more exciting experience for me. I do a lot of like pre-made meals, so the night before I make my lunch just so it's easier to kind of grab and go. We as a family, we do a lot of like leftovers, so we make a huge portion of food and then we just kind of put them in Tupperware and just put it in the fridge ready to go as well. So I really like doing that. I also do like zucchini noodles, zoodles, so those are really easy and fun to make in the morning if you just are kind of rushing and want something really good to eat. I do that a lot. And then for snacks on the go, it's mostly fruit for me. Fruits or like carrots, just little mini bite kind of things. I also do like granola. And then one of my breakfast favorites for on the go has got to be a chia pudding. That is something that I've just become obsessed with in the past few months. It's just so easy to make and really, really tasty too and nutritious. So that's another great grab and go kind of meal that I enjoy.
Do you have any lunches or dishes that you like to bring on a regular basis? Like, what's the most frequent thing that you bring to school?
Hmm. I do bring a lot of zucchini noodles. I really do enjoy that. But I always kind of switch it up. There's not something that's in my lunchbox too often. I don't want to get tired of different foods. So, like I said, I always love to switch things up and experiment with different flavors and combinations. And I just really love trying things, and so I switch it up a lot. But zoodles are definitely something that's always in my lunchbox.
I love that you call them zoodles. I've never heard that before, and that's awesome.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard that. That's zucchini noodles. It's perfect. So how do your friends react? Do you have vegan friends at school, or you must be around mostly non-vegans, I'm assuming. How do they react to your food, and how do your friends react to your food?
Well, actually, a majority of the kids at my school aren't vegan. There are a few vegetarians, but I mean, not a huge majority. My friends, at first, they were like trying to make me eat different foods and like break the rules kind of thing. But over time, it's really interesting. The more I brought in healthier foods, the more my friends did the same thing. So it was really cool to see that. And my best friend would start to bring in foods that I could eat too. And so she started eating healthier as time went along, and so I think that's really that happened. But also to have just like really strong willpower is something that I have to have at school because there are like a lot of temptations around, especially if your peers are trying to get you to do something that you know you shouldn't do food-wise. And so I think it's just important to make sure that you stand your ground and know what you're doing and its purpose and how it can really affect you in a good way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, the second question comes from Laura, who says, I'm a young teen and I want to become vegetarian due to the fact that I saw a lot of videos made by PETA, which were basically all about protection for animals. So now that I want to start off as a vegetarian before I consider becoming a vegan, I was wondering, what do you substitute for red and white meat? And can you still drink milk, eat chocolate, and any other foods with dairy in it? So it sounds like Laura wants to go vegetarian first, so she's kind of easing herself into it, but is curious about veganism. She just doesn't know what to eat yet. So what are what are your favorite alternatives to meat and dairy?
Some of my favorite alternatives for meat, I've really grown to love tofu. At first, when we first became vegan, tofu was something like, I don't know about this kind of thing. But over time, we started really experimenting with it and marinating it overnight so the flavors could really seep into it. And then we would like pan fry it and put it on sandwiches, just have it on the side with brown rice or anything. And so we're starting to really incorporate it into our dishes more often. And then another favorite of mine is seitan. It's very interesting type of food, but once again, kind of like tofu, it's something you should get used to, but it's really a great replacement. And then most recently, mushrooms are really, really great to replace meat. We eat a lot of oyster mushrooms. And
Yeah.
one day I posted about that, and they were like, somebody was like, these look really good, but I'm vegan, so I can't eat them. And I was like, they're oyster mushrooms. Um, they're really, really, really tasty and very hearty too. So it's a great substitution. And of course, if you just season it the way you like it, then you'll most likely end up really enjoying it. But what I've found is that as time goes along, I don't really need the meat substitutes anymore. Um, you just find yourself being way more satisfied with just a plate of veggies and anything else. But it's a great way to transition into things. And of course, you could try like the mock meats and stuff like that just to transition into it. But I like using especially the tofu and mushrooms because you can just experiment with it and make it your own at any way you like.
And how about dairy? What are some of your dairy alternatives that you like to use?
I love using almond milk. It's a really great one. Most recently, we discovered flax milk, which is like really, really delicious.
Mhm.
Come in like all sorts of different flavors, and I really, really like it. It's smooth, it's creamy. There's no like weird aftertaste. It's really perfect.
I agree. Flax milk is one of my favorites too. My all-time favorite is a combination of flax, rice, and hemp milk together, and it's so good.
It
It's
sounds
made in
good.
California, so I don't think you can get it outside of Southern California, but I hope that the company expands. But you might be referring to the flax milk that's in like a carton. I think it's called Good Karma. Is that the one? It
Yeah.
has like a blue. Yeah, that one's really good. So for those of you, I actually never talk about flax milk, so I'm glad that you brought it up because people might be afraid to try it, but
Yeah.
I've been seeing it in a lot of stores, including Whole Foods, and it's usually pretty affordable. You get a lot of milk, and it has the vitamins and minerals like omega-3s in there, which are important for our diet. So for people that think that they need to get that from fish, you can actually get that from sources like flax, which is really cool. And that's an easy way to get it. Lara also asked about chocolate. So you can absolutely eat chocolate. Chocolate is actually naturally plant-based. It comes from a tree, cacao, and the only reason chocolate wouldn't be vegan is if there's added not or dairy-based milk into it. But now you can get all sorts of chocolates that are made without milk at all or are made with non-dairy milk. Haley, do you have any favorite brands of chocolate?
Um, I really like using just the raw cacao powder and adding it to different dishes. I do like a avocado chocolate pudding with that. So just blending up avocados, some flax milk, vanilla extract, and adding some of the cacao powder, and it's really, really good. But I don't know. I don't eat chocolate too much, but if I kind of have a sweet tooth, I go more for the avocado puddings, and I like to use the powder. It's really good.
Yeah, that's great. It's a lot healthier when you make it yourself and you can control all the flavor and all of that. And if people have never tried chocolate avocado pudding before, try it out. Avocado actually tastes really great in a variety of desserts. You can make like ice cream alternatives with it. Just also put it in your smoothies. I mean, it's really surprising. It's very, very creamy. And
Mhm.
I remember when I first went vegan, having an avocado smoothie and just being like, wow, this is so amazing. So it tastes especially good when it's blended with coconut.
Yes, yes. I make avocado coconut popsicles. They're
Yes,
really good in the summer. Really,
yes,
really
they
good.
are. They are for sure. Okay, the next question comes from Sarah. Sarah's 15 years old and says, I've been vegan for a year and a half, and since then I've felt so amazing, energetic, and so on. I would like to ask you how to incorporate a healthy lifestyle into my daily life because I recently switched to another school and I've become very ambitious about my education. I have several hours of homework each day, and when I'm done, I get really tired. Right now, I try to eat as healthy as I can, but it's hard when the supermarkets near me are short on organic fruits and vegetables, so I live on energy bars and carrots most of the time, which is very expensive and a little bit boring. Also, my parents don't quite get why I want to eat more whole foods and organic veggies. They are very supportive about my veganism and get proud of themselves when they buy a new kind of whole food for me, but since my family likes to eat white rice, white bread, and oily stuff, it can be hard to eat healthy if they cook, and I don't have time for it. Another thing is exercise. I live in a very rainy environment, so it's hard to go out for a run, and I don't have time to go to the gym or do any other kind of sports, but I want to exercise somehow. I get kind of stressed from time to time because I feel like I don't have the time to do all that I want. Do you have any tips for how I can live a healthy and relaxed life while still achieve what I want in my education? I love this. So Sarah's just a year older than you. It sounds like you guys could relate on some of these things. I would love to know, Haley, tips in general for her, like how to make time for food, how to talk to her parents about the benefits of organic foods and just healthy vegetables, less oil and all of that. And then if you have any tips on incorporating exercise into your life when you're in school, I'd love to hear it.
So for the first portion about her parents and them cooking not so healthy foods, I think it's really important for all of them as a family to just become educated together. I think that's a huge thing that helped my family because none of us are uninformed of the things that or the benefits of healthy ingredients. So being informed as a family is really important because then everybody's on the same page and at the same level, and at that point it's easier to kind of move forward together to make those healthy swaps. Um, I also think that once that happens, your parents will have more time to prepare these meals for you, and then they'll be healthy meals. So if everyone's on the same page, then there's a better chance that you'll be able to avoid those oily and really, unhealthy foods. And I think really figuring out some easy and cost-efficient ways to get those same foods that you love into your diet, but in a way more nutritious way. And so that is a really great thing to do. And for the getting exercise in, I think my school has a required PE class. So I'm not sure if your school has that, but that definitely helps because I have to do it, and I'm really already at school, so it's a part of my schedule already. But other than that, I can definitely relate to the fact that you're very busy. That's the same for me, and I absolutely value education and really want to have that at the forefront, but also my health. So I really try to schedule out things in a way that makes sure that both of the things that are very important to me um, stay balanced and they're both taken care of. And I think just recognizing what's important and then putting all of your effort and time into it is something that will help you get through it and just kind of schedule it out, I guess, in a way that is manageable for you. Um, I definitely had to regroup this year and just figure out how I could fit in more things to help me relax and but to also have fun and cook more often at home. And um, I think it's definitely important just to kind of look at your life and just organize it in a way that's manageable for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And taking on so much when, especially with you, Haley, you're doing so much in your life. You're going to school, you're cooking at home, you're doing all this stuff online, and I saw, do you sometimes go to the farmers market and do demos and things like that there too?
Yeah, so I go to the farmers markets, I go to schools during school hours, and so a lot of the time I'm just doing what I love, but making sure that um, it stays balanced with schoolwork and all of those things. And I mean, sometimes it can be overwhelming, but in the long run, both are so important, and so I make sure I do all I can to maintain both.
Yeah. Well, if you can make it happen, I think most people can. So those are really good tips. All right, so we have two more questions, then we'll open it up to live questions. So anybody watching, get those ready. You can ask them, you can input those at any time on the Google Plus Q&A app. We can't see questions that are sent in on YouTube in the comments section, at least not live. We'll see them afterwards. So the fourth question comes from Jessica, who's 19 and from Indonesia. She just switched to veganism and she feels better than ever. The problem is she doesn't have any supporting circumstances, as she calls them, especially since she's been trying 80-10-10, which is the low-fat raw foods diet. And her parents don't support her at all. All of her friends think she's weird, and she's wondering how to deal with this. Her friends are discouraging her to eat vegan and keep telling her to eat meat. She knows she won't, but she feels upset and confused every time that she eats out with them. So I would love to hear, Haley, how do you deal with those friends? You talked a little bit about it, but do you have any other tips for handling friends at school, maybe new friends when you make them, or people that maybe you're not really close to but you see at school, and what do you do when people tease you or kind of give you trouble about being vegan?
Um, well, for me, I think once again, it's about having that willpower. I mean, some people are just going to be not very supporting or encouraging, and sometimes it's just you can't even change that. But to just be very firm and understanding why you're doing what you're doing is super important. And I think that over time, even though your friends might be telling you to do this and do that, you can slowly inform them about it too. And I mean, you don't have to like shove it down their throat saying, "Don't eat meat, you're gonna die," or anything like that. But just spreading the information that you have in really gentle ways and just hoping that your healthier lifestyle will influence them to make better choices, just like I did with my friends. So at first, of course, it's just a little bit tough because that's the standard diet. That's what a lot of people are doing, and since it's something different, nobody really knows how to digest that. So just being able to be confident in your choice and to slowly share that information with everyone is something I think that is super valuable and a way to kind of make your friends feel, I guess, more informed about what you're doing and why you're doing it. And hopefully that will help and really make them understand your choices, because I think that it's awesome that you're still sticking through it and being able to rise up against all of the comments. And so I think just really having strong willpower is something that's really important.
What do you do when people tease you, like whether they're at school or maybe you come across people just when you're outside of school, or maybe people don't tease you very often, but what if somebody challenges you, gives you a hard time about being vegan? Do you have any like specific things that you'll say to them or ways that you kind of shift the conversation? How do you handle those moments?
Um, Usually, one thing that happened to me, which is kind of weird, I was in Whole Foods and I was just walking around, and there was a lady giving samples of beef jerky, and she was like, "Oh, would you like a sample?" I was like, "No, I'm vegan," and she looked at me like I was just the worst person in the world, and I was like, I don't know what I did wrong. But what I realized is that a lot of people just have like this weird perception about vegan people, and that uh, we're just crazy, or we're doing something wrong, or we're strange. But in the end, what I was thinking about was like, wow, I guess she's not really fully informed about all these things and the benefits of it. And so um, I mean, that was one of the few things that happened to me, and usually it's just like random people who are trying to give me samples or something when they kind of have that reaction. The kids at my school, I guess, I mean, they don't really mention it that much, but uh, I just think that when you kind of see a reaction like that, it makes you realize how uninformed a majority of the people in the world are about this way of eating, and have so many stereotypes in their heads about, what we're doing and why we're doing it. So I just kind of brush it off and know that I'm doing the right thing.
That's really cool. I think that that's great, and just knowing that, yeah, I think sometimes people treat us differently because they just have never met anyone like us before, or they don't know anything about it, and they have these preconceived notions. And so you can make the choice to brush it off because you might never see this person again, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter, or sometimes you can use it as an opportunity to talk about it, but you never quite know how those conversations are going to go. Some people are really open to hearing it, and some people aren't. So I think just kind of taking it step by step. I think it's more challenging when it's with parents and friends, and this
hmm
is a topic that comes up like almost every week on this Q&A is questions from people who are having a hard time. So you're certainly not alone if you're experiencing that.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that um, there's this somebody at my school we were all talking about food, and she was saying how nuggets were her favorite food, and uh, my teacher was like, "Oh, you would not believe what's in there," and she was like, "No, no, 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 I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it." So a lot of people are just have like this wall of, and they don't want any information to get through. So.
Hmm. Yep, that's true, and it's definitely not limited to people that aren't vegan. Even vegans can have walls up. I've definitely experienced this, and it's something that is just kind of a human thing. It's not vegan or not vegan. It's some people have walls up and some people don't. Some people's walls are higher than others, and I think it's just important to focus on yourself and can you be more open too. I actually find that the more comfortable that I am about my decisions, but also open to hearing other people's information and other people's perspectives and theories on things, it really is always fascinating because you can have a conversation with somebody, you don't have to agree with them necessarily, but I think being open to it is if we can practice that ourselves, then it
Mhm.
encourages other people, and it makes that small step, and maybe more people will be more open. So if you're frustrated with somebody, then instead of being upset about that, just practice not doing what they did. And then like now you know not to make weird faces at people if if they tell you that they're different from you. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of, a lot of people say other people are a reflection of us.
Hmm.
So when somebody does something that makes you uncomfortable, I think it's a great opportunity to just think, how can I make sure that I don't act like that to other people? And when you take self-responsibility, that's really all you have control over. So it's very empowering, I think. Okay, so one last question, then we're going to open it up to the live questions. So again, if anybody's watching live and wants to chime in, you can use the Q&A app on Google Plus to ask your questions. And this last one comes from Maya, who says, I'm a vegetarian and I'm 15 years old. I've been vegetarian for 2 months. Of course, there are some reactions to the decision in my family, especially my grandparents. I have always, I have, I think she might have said, meant to say, already had a discussion with them about vegetarianism, veganism, environment, and I'm very patient answering their questions. But my grandmother asked me one question I didn't know how to answer. She asked, what could people wear in winter when they are vegan and don't wear fur or any clothing from synthetic materials? If you can give me some advice on natural materials that are warm enough to wear in the winter. So does it get cold in your part of Arizona? Does
Um,
it?
you know what? It was 75 yesterday. It's gonna be like 80 something on Monday, so it does not get very cold over here. Well, at least not super cold. Like 60 degrees is cold to me.
Yeah, same with me.
So I don't really have like a huge coat selection, unless I'm traveling somewhere else. But I'm not quite sure what materials. Like I said, I'm not super familiar with cold weather, so.
What about when you became vegan, did you choose to switch over like your clothing products? Did you stop wearing leather and wool and products like that? And if so, what did you replace it with?
I've never had a leather item before or anything made out of wool, so it was kind of easy for me to do. So, um, as I as I started learning about, I watched the movie Earthlings, and I was like, whoa, that actually happens to cows for the leather, and it was this weird connection that I made to clothing items. So, I mean, now I'm more aware to stay away from those items, but I never really had it in my closet, so.
You're lucky. That that makes it really easy. Actually, Earthlings was the movie that encouraged me to give up leather. I used to, have cashmere and leather and all sorts of things, and after I saw that, I was done for sure. So if anybody is struggling to switch their wardrobe over, I would definitely watch that movie. A lot of people are afraid to watch that movie. I actually don't think it's that bad. I've seen much worse. And on that note, Haley, when you saw Earthlings, did you find it hard to watch? Do you find footage like that hard to watch? And what kind of inspired you to watch it in the first place?
Um, well, when I saw it, I was so shocked. It was really, really sad. I found myself crying at some of the parts just to, I mean, imagine a life like that. Cows that should be living 20 years, living 4 years, and just, it was really, really depressing. And so I was inspired to watch it after just hearing about it more and more.
Well, that's really brave of you because I know a lot of adults that refuse to watch it. So and it's everybody's prerogative. I feel very strongly that I would love it if everybody saw that film, but I know that it's really challenging and you have to kind of get over that emotional hurdle of being afraid. But I actually feel like it's so important for everybody, including people that are already vegan, because for me, I had been vegan for about a year before I saw that, but technically I wasn't fully vegan because I was still using animal products in my life. So it was more that I was on the plant-based diet, but I wasn't doing everything in my life to be vegan. And that really opened my eyes up. And I think that a lot of people think they know what happens to animals, but until you see the footage, until you really hear the details, you don't really know. And it adds this extra element to it of really understanding what happens and seeing the pain in an animal's eyes is something you'll never forget. hearing the sounds that they make when, you know, they're in these horrible situations is haunting. And for me, it's only like a temporary uncomfortableness. I was talking about this yesterday in a video that I made. I saw this PETA video about rabbit fur, and it was really hard to watch, but I wanted to watch it because I wanted to really know and experience what was happening. And I was really upset for a few hours, and then now I still feel slightly upset, but it's actually a good thing because that upsetness just reminds me to continue doing what I'm doing. Do you agree with that, Haley?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, when I first went vegan, it was just a choice for my health, but as I kept on doing the research, it really kind of made me more, even more involved in the ethical side of things and how, you know, gosh, just the animals go through so much. And I mean, in a country that eats too much, these animals go through so much. It's really sad to see. And um, thinking about it really and watching these things only makes my point to be vegan even stronger, and just to see how being vegan can even help the environment. It's like I'm doing myself good and I'm also doing the world good too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's see if we have some live questions. And as a quick reminder, none have come through yet, so let me show everybody how to do it. I'm not going to make the same mistake I made last time. Let me show you what the screen looks like. So you can actually go to, oops, is that the right one? Hold on. I think I clicked on the wrong button. This one here. So when you go to the Eco Vegan Gal Google Plus page, it's plus.google.com/plus Eco Vegan Gal, or you can go to the Eco Vegan Gal Facebook page or Twitter and find a link. You can scroll down and you can click right on our Q&A. And when you get there, you'll see this. Now, you have to sign in order to participate, but of course you can watch without signing in. And again, as I mentioned, it's free to sign in for Google. If you have a Gmail account or a YouTube account, you're already all set for it. When you press the play button, this is where you can ask your questions. So you just come right over here and you click these little buttons at the top right corner, and then you click Q&A, and then it brings this window up, and you'll see the option to ask your question after you sign into your account. And that's it. So while we're waiting to see if any questions came through, let me see if they're coming through anywhere else, because sometimes people ask over on YouTube. And is there anything else that you want to cover while we're waiting for live questions to come in? Anything that you've been wanting to talk about?
I really wanted to just stress the importance of cooking and learning how to cook. So important. I mean, it helps you 1,000 times with transitioning into this lifestyle, and also just being open to a lot of different options. Because a lot of the stuff that I've tried now as a vegan is something I never imagined I would eat before. So being open-minded and kind of learning about yourself in the kitchen, I think is really important.
Absolutely. What has helped? Where did you learn how to make food the way that you did? Do you have favorite cookbooks? Did you take classes somewhere? How did you kind of figure it all out? And what do you do on a daily basis to come up with your meals?
Well, my mom is actually the huge influence in me learning how to cook, and ever since I was very, very little, I would help my mom in the kitchen, whether it was just mixing things up or just watching. And so over time, it was just a passion and a hobby for me that I really loved to do. And by the time I was 5, I could make scrambled eggs, and I felt like I was just getting better and better, and I would get in the kitchen even more often and eventually on my own. And so um, my mom has huge impact in this, and my parents are actually from Jamaica, so I never ate like the typical kids food. It was more like curried foods and lots of spices, and So like chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese weren't satisfying to me. So I always kind of had a thing for different foods.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's nice that you have that variety there too. I love Jamaican food. Do you have any favorite authors or websites that you go to? Any other like I think off the top of my head, I feel like there might be a Jamaican vegan cookbook. Do you know about that?
Yeah, I feel like there is one too.
I'll have to
Um,
look that up.
yeah. Of course, I love your recipes. Um, I like I said, ever since I became vegan, really learning about people like you and um, all the other amazing YouTubers has really helped me with formulating new recipes and kind of putting my own twist on it. I
That's
also
cool.
really,
I just looked up Jamaican vegan, and there's a few books. There's one called Simply Vegan, The Jamaican Way. There's one called The Best Jamaican Cooking. It's vegan, paleo, and more. And there's Caribbean vegan,
Mhm.
which look great. Those are just a few. There's a few others that are vegetarian, or there's a lot of options. So I'll include links to these books in the description field for other people to check out if you want to try Jamaican cooking. We do actually have a few questions that came in. Do you want to answer
Oh, awesome.
those?
Yeah.
All right. So, Simple Health 83 just joined, and he thinks that we kind of covered this, which we did already, but maybe you wanted to add anything further to your story, Haley, about what first got you to go vegan. So you talked about how your father with his type 2 diabetes. But where I don't know if you mentioned where you first learned about veganism. What was the first time that you heard of it, and what inspired you to start learning more about it?
Um, well, I started learning about veganism after I watched the documentary Forks Over Knives. I watched that when I was 9 years old, and that was
Wow.
when it kind of first came into my knowledge, and I knew about it. But at that point, I never really thought, oh, we should go vegan at that point. Um, but I learned about it then, and a lot of the food documentaries our family would watch were actually centered around the vegan lifestyle. But at that point, we were kind of just taking little bits and pieces from those and kind of applying it to our own lives. But what made me go vegan at this point um, was being so informed about it and realizing that it was the best choice to make at this point. So really, ultimately, I was looking at the whole picture and I was like, this is probably the best decision we can make for our family. And seeing all the research about it and seeing the health benefits from it, it just seemed like a really great path to go on. And it has been an amazing journey.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. It's amazing how much of a difference documentaries like Forks Over Knives have made for people, and even people that are under 10 years old watching them. It's just really remarkable, and it's great that your parents and your whole family comes together to watch those together. And just if Simple Health, if you want to know more about our story, we talked about that at the beginning, so you can go back for the recording. So Bridget asked, do you have any recipes for school lunches? So Haley has a fantastic website, which is linked here on the screen and will be down in the description field as well. Do you have any recipes on there specifically for school lunches?
Um, any any recipes for school lunches? Um, well, I have quite a bit of recipes. So if you visit my website, um, some of them that I recommend is my chickpea and the sea sandwich. It is really, really delicious. It's a great way to get that fishy kind of taste that everyone loves. So instead of chicken of the sea, it's chickpea and the sea, and so it's a great on-the-go kind of sandwich and super easy to make too. That's a good one. I also have my Vietnamese veggie spring rolls. You could either have that one as a snack or for your lunch too. Cauliflower tabbouleh is another one that I really love. It's a great way to get off of the grains if you're gluten free. Um, it's really, really delicious. And a lot of people who are gluten free were telling me that they haven't had a chance to have tabbouleh since um, when they first went gluten free, and so they haven't had it in years, and now they're able to have this tabbouleh without the gluten. So it's that's a really good one. And all of these are on my website, teenvegan.us. And there are a lot of options that you could do for lunch or dinner.
Cool. Well, we'll link to those, of course. Those all sound really good. I'm a huge fan of chickpea tuna as an alternative to fish tuna. It's one of my all-time favorites. It's so satisfying. um, this is a great question from Emily, who complimented you by saying it's a pleasure to watch someone so poised who speaks so eloquently about veganism. When you have friends over, what does your family serve that your non-vegan friends enjoy eating too? It's a good question.
Um, well, one point that I really like to mention is that vegan food is for everyone and everyone can enjoy it. There's nothing in the diet that somebody is commonly allergic to. So, what we love to do is make just several different types of vegetable dishes. So, we do like mushroom curries, and we serve that over quinoa or brown rice. Uh, we bake like a potato gratin with a butternut squash and cashew cream sauce. We do those a lot, and we also make the simple stuff. We do like noodles and um, zoodles. We make a lot of those too. So we really just have a variety of stuff that we really enjoy and make sure that the flavors are very delicious, and I think anybody can make vegetables taste great if you've got the right seasonings and a good eye for how to cook and prepare your vegetables. And I think that's another thing to be really informed about is how to properly cook vegetables. Because what I find is that a lot of kids, when I go do cooking demos, they say that they don't like different vegetables, but that's only because their parents are preparing it in ways they don't like it. So, like kids who don't like tomatoes when they're raw love them cooked. So it's just about kind of seeing what you like and knowing how to prepare it for your taste buds.
Yeah, that is such a great point too. It's like Brussels sprouts are infamous for people not liking them, but I love Brussels sprouts, and Brussels sprouts can be made in so many different ways. You know, when you have a steamed Brussels sprout, it tastes completely different from when
Yeah,
it's roasted, or when it's fried up with, a tempeh bacon or something
yeah,
like that,
so good.
or it's sweetened with maple syrup on Brussels sprouts tastes incredible. So I think it's so important, and I'm so glad that you said that, for young people especially to try different foods. But I actually would say this applies to a lot of people, because sometimes adults have never liked certain vegetables because they've just never had them prepared well. Maybe they don't know how to cook, or they've never been to the right restaurant, and they just have had all these bad experiences. And absolutely true. And then there are different varieties of foods too. Like you could say you don't like mushrooms, but there are so many different types of mushrooms out there. You know, you were
Yeah,
talking about oyster mushrooms earlier, portobello mushrooms, cremini, white mushrooms, button mushroom. I mean, there's just on and on and on. Lobster mushrooms. I mean, there's so many types and textures. So trying a few different types of a food before you decide you don't like it, and plus the same food made a few different ways, you might change your mind.
exactly. You have to be open-minded for sure.
What is something like what are some top foods that you hear people say they don't like, and then how do you prepare them in a way that they actually do like them?
So one of the top ones is definitely tomatoes. Um,
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people hate tomatoes. It's so weird. But I yeah, a lot of people and kids especially um don't like tomatoes too much, and so I just I always try to kind of switch it up and hopefully um get them to just try new things. And I think a huge part in that is to really approach it in a gentle way and not like, oh, you're gonna eat this right now kind of thing. That I've noticed like a lot of parents will do. They'll say like, oh, you can't get up from the table unless you finish this kind of thing. So just kind of incorporating into different dishes and seeing how they like it. So tomatoes is a huge one that I always hear. I always hear some people don't like, oh, kale is a huge one. And I actually have a very good kale salad, which is great for kids who hate kale because it's sweet with strawberry vinaigrette. And so when you pour it over the kale, it breaks it down, which makes it way less bitter and a lot easier to chew up and enjoy. So um, kale and tomatoes are the top ones that a lot of people say they don't like.
Wow. Wow. Those are two of my favorite foods. So,
Yeah, I know.
so we had the next question comes from username Dash Now, who wanted to talk about spices. She wants to know what your favorite all-purpose spices are and how you can replace salt with spices. Do you ever experiment with salt-free dishes?
Yeah, so sometimes a lot of dishes that I make don't need salt just from the natural content of the vegetable that I'm using or grain, but I do use a lot of everyday seasoning, so the seasoning packs that have like fennel and red pepper flakes and all of those things in a spice bottle, and you just kind of grind it over your food. I use a lot of those. But for salt-free, um, I think anybody can do it. It's just an adjustment of your taste buds, and it can be really easy. But all of us are so addicted to that sweet and salty and crunchy, fried. All of those types of flavors are really kind of ingrained in our being. So just kind of weaning off of it, like vegans do for meat, you eventually get used to it, and it's very adaptable and easy to do. But I like using the everyday seasoning blends. They're really flavorful, um, and you might not need salt for some of your dishes. And of course, it depends on your taste buds. But yeah, it can be easy.
Yeah. I think also with salt, just reducing it until you don't even feel the need for it anymore, and it's just a matter of your taste buds changing. So maybe having anything super flavorful that naturally is super flavorful versus focusing on dishes that don't have a ton of flavor and might feel like they need salt, and over time everything will change, and you'll really notice the flavors within the food. And I think spices can really help. I think garlic, that's one of my favorite. Garlic powder can be a
Oh
great
yeah.
alternative because it brings out so much flavor, and garlic tastes good on pretty much everything. All right, so the next question came from Stephanie, who said that she finds you very inspiring, Haley, and wants to know if you've ever reached out to your school to get them include healthier plant-based lunch options. She also wants to know, do you have any tips for kids and teens who want to reach out to their schools about healthier options?
So I actually haven't worked with my school yet on healthier food options. It's definitely something that I've talked to my school about, but it is a huge thing to take on. And as of right now, I really have to find the time and space to do it. But it's definitely something I want to do in the future. But of course, it just takes a while for even the kids at school to adapt to that kind of thing. So it is definitely something that can be done, and I've seen happen. But for my school, I haven't done it yet. I really want to. It's just about finding that time for me. Um, but then, of course, I actually used to work with Hyatt Hotels, and I helped build their For Kids by Kids menu, which was all
Cool.
about sophisticated, healthy, and delicious meals for kids. So if you go to any Hyatt hotel in America and the Caribbean, you can find one of my dishes on there. So it's really, really awesome. And I was with them for 2 years formulating this menu that would roll out to every hotel, and it was the first hotel in the U.S. to do this, and so it was awesome getting to work on this project with them. And what we realized was that kids really want more sophisticated items on the kids menu, but since what's there is there, that's all we can eat, and that's all that kids feel like they can eat and should be eating. And so it was a really awesome experience. But yes, I do definitely want to do that. And if you're a kid or teen who wants to do that in your school, I say go for it. And if you have the time to do it and you're passionate about it and you feel like your school will be open to it, then I think it's a great thing to do.
Yeah. Can you tell us about some of the things that you created for the Hyatt menu? What was it one dish or did you have multiple dishes, and what was your favorite if there were multiple?
Well, there were a lot of dishes on the menu. Um, One that I created was well, I wasn't vegan then, but they were definitely way more healthy options on the menu then. We had grass-fed beef on the menu, which again is not vegan, but it's a huge step up for kids and their families in hotel industry. And if people are traveling, we want to make sure that they have healthier choices available. Um, have a shaken chopped chicken salad that was fun. And then I made a soba noodle salad with salmon is my recipe.
Wow. That's awesome. That's so cool to have that there, and that the hotels were really open to it. On this topic, since you worked and was involved with some things with the Obamas, and Michelle is so involved with healthy food for kids and in schools, did you learn anything from her during that? And also, did you have a chance to talk with her about veganism? Were you vegan at the time? I'm not sure when that was for you. Looks like she might have dropped off
Oh,
for a
oh,
moment.
what
Oh, there
happened?
she is. Okay.
I was not with the first when I was with the first lady. I wasn't vegan then, but so I guess I haven't had the opportunity to talk with her about that yet.
What did you learn anything from her specifically about healthier options for kids, and anything that she's doing, like the initiatives that she's working on?
Oh, absolutely. I learned a lot about her efforts to get healthier foods into schools. The White House chef Sam Cass, um, who was heading up the Let's Move initiative and all the healthy food programs, he's a really great friend of mine, and so um, I learned a lot from him about the healthier food options and making it fun to eat healthy foods for kids, and so um, I learned a lot about that and just how to approach healthy food in a very relatable way for kids.
What is like one big tip or takeaway that you got from them?
One big tip is that I got is probably just how you can really make an impact, and that as a kid, your voice is super important, and you shouldn't think otherwise, and that we have great opinions about food and nutrition, and that's something that they really instilled in me through all of these events and times I've been with them. It's just that my message is really important, and so I'm really, really happy that they taught me that.
Yeah, what a great gift, and from such influential people too. Okay, we're going to take one last question, and this comes from Stanley. And he says, type 2 diabetes is prevalent among the Native American community, in part due to their having adopted the typical American diet. Have you experimented with any of the foods that are indigenous to southern Arizona? That's a great question, Stanley.
Yes, so I'm very aware about the Native American community. It is really sad about how, you know, they can't really get access to great foods, and that the mindset there is all about this standard American diet. But some great recipes for using the foods that are native to Arizona. I love using cacti, which is really actually kind of cool. You can do like salads with that. I also like using prickly pear, and I make like prickly pear lemonade. It's really awesome.
Wow, that's so cool. So in school, do you learn a lot about the culture in that area? Because definitely Arizona, especially around Tucson, seems to have a big, indigenous. Do we still use the term Native American? I guess we just don't use the term Indian as much, right? But is that what the politically correct terminology is still?
Um, Mostly Native American, I guess. Um, but at school, sometimes they mention, incorporating the Native culture into different aspects of your life. And we do like field trips out to these places that are so culturally important. So I go on the reservation sometimes. About a few years ago, we did a Thanksgiving dinner on a reservation. So, it's not fully integrated into um, my school, but as a family, we try to make an impact on that community as much as we can.
That's really cool. Wow, we had some great questions today and some amazing topics. Is there anything else that we didn't get to today, or based on some of the questions, any final words of advice that you want to leave for other teenagers, for parents, for people that want to eat healthy?
Um, I think for everyone, it's just if you're trying to adapt a healthy lifestyle, um, go in it all the way and make sure that you are really informed and educated about your choice and to enjoy every step of the way because it's awesome. And any effort that you make to improve your health is one step closer to a happier and healthier you. So I think it's really awesome, and I had an amazing time with you today. So I'm really, really honored to be here, and I had a lot of fun.
That's so great. I had fun too, and I'm so honored. I think this is going to inspire so many people just to hear what your perspective is from your age and all the experience you've had so far. Again, is just so remarkable. What projects are you working on next? What's kind of coming up for you? What's happening in 2015? Anything exciting or any big goals that you're working towards?
Yeah, so one thing I'm doing is I'm working with, well, I created the Teen Chef Network, which is a group of kids locally, and hopefully we can branch this out into different states over time. But basically, it's a group of kids that are really a part of the group to become educated about food and well-being, and then to spread that message out into the community by doing community dinners. And so the kids are getting training about cooking and food preparation, knife skills, all of those things for the past few weeks. And we're going to do community dinners in different areas around Tucson. And then the whole point is to combat malnutrition and hunger at the same time with these healthy meals, and then to educate the community and the kids a part of the group.
That is so cool. That reminds me to ask you, have you participated in any like chef competitions? Is that something that you want to pursue? Because there's so many, TV shows now, like what is it, Top Chef? Are they the ones that have the kids, or maybe it's Chopped Kid? I don't know, one of those competition shows. Have you thought about doing any of those? Have you entered any of them?
Yeah, actually, 2 years ago, I was on the Food Network's Rachel versus Guy Kids Cook-Off, and it was
Oh,
my first
cool.
ever kids competition show on the Food Network, so that was an amazing experience.
Do you think that you would go back in again for another show and this time do it as a vegan kid chef?
Maybe. I mean, it was a really fun experience, and I learned a lot, but it was like, woo, super stressed out, and I mean, it was fun at the same time, so I really enjoyed it. But again, like I have to fit it in with everything else that I do, and I think it would be awesome to do it again though, because it's such a fun and really great learning experience.
Yeah. Well, you are such a great representative. So maybe the last thing that we can end on is, do you have advice for kids that want to be chefs and are thinking of doing more vegan cooking for themselves, either just personally or maybe if they want to kind of pursue a career like you've started?
Yeah, absolutely. Just get in the kitchen. Don't be afraid to try new foods and to really try to inform yourself more about health and well-being and to go for it. If you find yourself having a passion for being in the kitchen, then really do it. And that's what I did, just really, I guess, pursuing and putting my all into learning about food and wellness. And I think just to kind of step outside of the box and uh, do what you love and really try to go for it and to be very open-minded, like I've said quite a few times, just to um, don't have block against different foods because you could discover your new favorite or a new passion of yours. And so I think that's very important. And if you want to be a kid chef, go for it.
I want to be a kid chef. Well, I think that advice applies to everyone of all ages, which is really wonderful, and it shows that, it doesn't matter how old you are, you can still make things happen. It's just about taking that leap of faith and trying new things and discovering what happens along the way, just making it a journey. So thank you. It's a great way to end this. It has been amazing to have you on, so thanks for taking the time, and I look forward to everything that you're working on. Of course, as I mentioned, I'm going to link to your website so people can check that out. They can check out your social media, which is really fun, and of course your YouTube videos. Definitely for everyone out there, please check those out. They're really, really fun to watch, and spread the word because, we need to introduce this information to people of all ages, but especially the youth, so that they can start making differences in their own health and get inspired to do great things for the world, to spread the message about things like veganism and being eco-friendly and all of that. So thanks again, Haile. Thank you for everybody watching. I have these Q&As every Saturday and with amazing guests like Haile here today. So you can always find more information on the Google Plus page, so you can add me to your circles, as Google calls it, and I announce the Q&As usually on Fridays and reminders on Saturdays on the Eco Vegan Gal Facebook page and Twitter page. I would love to see you. Please join in the conversation in the comments down below. This is recorded to YouTube. The links and the time codes that you can jump forward and around will be up on Monday evening. And that's it for today. For more information, you can check out ecovegangal.com. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on these or any of the other videos. And you can check out my other channels like the What a Vegan Eats channel, which has daily vlogs, and the Uncensored channel, which has my thoughts and opinions about all sorts of things happening in life. I have a dog channel, so much out there for you to support you. Haile, actually, do you have more than one channel? Oh, I think we lost her. Okay, well, I think that Haile has just one channel right now, but I'll link to that down below for you to have more information. All right, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you next week. Have a great one.